Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we will discuss the articles displayed on the screen from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 13th March 2019. So let us start our discussion. This article on page number 6 is related to the Thakurani Jatra festival which is celebrated in the state of Odisha. So this will form a part of the preliminary examination syllabus under the topic History of India and particularly under the topic Indian Culture. Further, you should note that previously questions have been asked on these festivals that are celebrated in various states. For example, in the year 2016, this question was asked, and in the year 2017, this question was asked. So let us try to understand some key aspects of the Thakurani Jatra festival which is celebrated in the state of Odisha. So regarding the Thakurani Jatra, you should note that it is celebrated in the city of Behrampur in Odisha. Further, it is a biennial festival, which means that it is celebrated every 2 years. And according to historians, the first time this Thakurani Jatra was celebrated in the Behrampur city was in April 1779. This is because the community which celebrates this Thakurani Jatra settled down in the city of Behrampur in this year, that is 1779. So with the settlement of this community, the celebration of Thakurani Jatra started in the year 1779 in Behrampur in Odisha. Now what is the name of this community? So this festival is associated with the weaver Dera community which is settled in the city of Behrampur in Odisha. And the celebration of this festival is mainly associated with their cult head known as the Desi Behra. Further, you should note that this festival is celebrated in the honor of the goddess Buddhi Thakurani, who is also the traditional deity of this silk handloom weaving Dera community of Behrampur. And you should note that this Dera community was originally from Andhra Pradesh. However, this community was settled in the city of Behrampur by the king of Mahuri kingdom. And when this community got settled in the city of Behrampur, the celebration of Thakurani Jatra started in Behrampur. Regarding the Dera community, you should note that it is an hereditary profession of weaving the Tassar silken products. And these products are also known as Patta Matha. And associated with this is the famous Patto silk sari of the Behrampur. And this Patto silk sari is weaved by the community, that is Dera community. Now a unique aspect of this festival is related to the carnival spirits that are called into the celebrations. And these carnival spirits are called into celebration by the way of people dressing into attires of various mythical characters. Now regarding the questions that were asked in the year 2016 and 17, the question in 2016 read, consider the following pairs. So in this, the festivals were given and the state in which these festivals are celebrated were also given. And we were required to find which of the pairs have been correctly matched. So the first is that the Chapchar Kut festival is celebrated in the state of Mizoram. This is a correct match. The second one was that the Khonjom Parba Ballad is celebrated in the state of Manipur. This is also correct. However, the third pair was incorrect because the Thangta dance is not celebrated in the state of Sikkim but is celebrated in the state of Manipur. Now regarding the question that was asked in the year 2017, it provided the traditions or the festivals and the communities which celebrated these festivals. So the first pair was the Chaliha Sahib festival. And the community that is given is the Sindhis. This is a correct match. However, the second and third pairs were incorrectly matched because the Nandaraj Yatra is celebrated in the state of Uttarakhand by the Gadwali community. Further, this Wari Warkaris festival is not celebrated by the Santals but is celebrated by the Marathas in Maharashtra. So the correct answer was A, that is 1 only. So similarly, you should note that the location where this Thakurani Jatra is celebrated is important, and also the community which celebrates the Thakurani Jatra is also important for us from the preliminary examination point of view. And with this, let us move on to the next article. Now this editorial on page number 8 throws light on the territorial defeat which is being faced by the Islamic State militants. Now this editorial highlights that although the territorial defeat of ISIS has been accomplished, ISIS still remains a force as an ideology, and this can also act as an insurgent jihadi group in various territories. And this editorial further highlights that the ISIS is being defeated in its last bastion, that is Baghouz in Syria. So in this editorial, the various locations and the previous strongholds of the ISIS are important for us from the preliminary examination point of view. So let us look at some previous year questions where such questions have been asked related to the locations which were in news. And these two questions were asked in the year 2018. And this question was particularly related to the places in news because of terrorism or militant activities. So this question reads, consider the following pairs, towns sometimes mentioned in news and the country with which they are associated. So the first city mentioned here is the Aleppo and it is located in Syria. This is a correct match, as you can see in this diagram that this city was under the control of ISIS. The second is Kirkuk and the location is Yemen. Now this is an incorrect match because Kirkuk is located in Iraq. Further, the third pair reads Mosul and Palestine. This is also incorrect because Mosul was also located in the Iraq and this was also a previous stronghold of ISIS. The fourth pair reads Mazar-e-Sharif and Afghanistan. This has been correctly matched. Mazar-e-Sharif was in news because of a bomb blast that happened in Afghanistan. So the correct answer that comes out is B, that is 1 and 4. Similarly, you should note that the other cities which are mentioned in this editorial are the Raqqa, Deir al-Zor, Abu Kamal, etc. Also, Fulaza, and previously the ISIS also had its presence in the Idlib town. So all these cities and locations are important for us from the preliminary examination point of view. Further, you should note that another question that was asked in 2018 was regions sometimes mentioned in the news and the country with which they are associated. So the first is related to the Catalonia and it is located in the Spain, and this has been correctly matched because recently a referendum for independence was held in the state of Catalonia in Spain. The second reads Crimea and Hungary. This is incorrect because Crimea is a part of Ukraine. Third is the Mindanao and Philippines, and this city is correctly matched and was in news because of the presence of Islamic State in Philippines. The fourth city is also incorrectly matched because Oromia is a city in Ethiopia and not in Nigeria. So the correct answer that comes out is C, that is 1 and 3 only. So similarly, the Baghouz town, which is the last territory which is being held by the ISIS, also becomes important for us from the preliminary examination point of view. So besides the other towns and cities that we have seen in the map in the previous slide, you should note that the Baghouz is the last territory which is held by the ISIS. And here also, this militant group is facing a defeat from the forces. So this location becomes important for us from the preliminary examination point of view. So you should keep in mind all these locations that we have discussed in this article. And with this, let us move on to the next article. Now this news article on page number 18 is related to the discovery of a new frog. So this will form a part of the preliminary examination syllabus related to the topic general issues on biodiversity. Now in this news article, the only thing that is important is the name of this frog. So the name of this frog is the Astrobatrachus curiciana. And another important aspect is that it has been found in Wayanad and it has been named based on a local tribe which is found in Wayanad. And the name of that tribe is Kuruchia tribe. So based on the name of that tribe, this frog has also been named. And as you all know, Wayanad is located in the state of Kerala. So only these three aspects, that it has been named based on the name of a tribe and it is located in Wayanad in Kerala, are the important aspects for us from the preliminary examination point of view. And at the end of this discussion, there will be a practice question related to this aspect. With this, let us move on to the next article. Now this particular news article on page number 6 is related to the India's guided rocket system, which is named as Pinaka. So this will form a part of the preliminary examination syllabus under the topic events of national importance. So regarding the Pinaka, you should note that it is a multiple rocket launcher and it is produced by the Defense Research Development Organization for the Indian Army. Now the previous version of the Pinaka was used in the Kargil war. So this system of multiple rocket launchers is now being upgraded by the DRDO, and this new upgraded system will be GPS guided now. So this GPS guided system means that these rockets can be launched for a particular location and it will hit a precise target according to the location which has been fed in the GPS system. Further, you should note that this system is mounted on a Jatra truck. For example, you can see in this picture. And also you should note that it can fire 12 rockets at a time. So the only information that is important is that Pinaka is a guided rocket system which is being developed by DRDO. And this information is important from preliminary examination point of view. So at the end of this discussion, there will be a practice question related to this aspect of this news. And now let us move on to the next article. Now this article on page number 8 is related to the Official Secrets Act. And in this article, the author has highlighted that how this Official Secret Acts of 1923 curbs the freedom of press and media. Now the various aspects of the Official Secrets Act have already been discussed in the Daily News Simplified of 8th March 2019. So in order to learn about the basics of the Official Secrets Act, you should go through this video. However, in this article, we will try to understand the key points that have been highlighted by the author. So in this regard, author has highlighted two commissions which dealt with the Official Secrets Act. Further, the author has also highlighted the importance of press in a democracy. And finally, we will learn about the recommendations of the second ARC and the Law Commission regarding the Official Secrets Act. So in this article, the author has highlighted two commissions which were created to read about the viability of the Official Secrets Act. And these commissions were known as the press commissions. Now the author in this article has suggested that the Official Secret Act, which has been misused by the governments in power, should have been repealed immediately after independence. However, this was not done, and it was only after the emergency, when the Janta government came to power in 1977, the second press commission, which was chaired by Justice Goswami, was created. And this commission in its report suggested that the government should immediately repeal the Official Secrets Act of 1923. However, the report of this Goswami Commission was never published. This is because there was a change of government at the center. And the new government, which was headed by Indira Gandhi, dissolved and disbanded this Justice Goswami Commission. And this Justice Goswami Commission was now replaced by another commission, which was also known as the Second Press Commission and was headed by Justice K.K. Mathew. However, the new commission in its report did not recommend the repealing of Official Secrets Act of 1923. Now you should note that the author was also a member of the Justice Goswami Commission, and he has suggested the repealing of the Official Secrets Act of 1923. However, the new committee, which was created in 1980 by the Indira Gandhi government, did not recommend the removal or repealing of the Official Secrets Act of 1923. Further in this article, the author has highlighted the importance of press and the freedom of expression. So let us look at the arguments provided by the author regarding the freedom of press and its importance to the democracy. Further highlighting the importance of press, the author has highlighted that press is actually the champion of the freedom of expression of a country. And in this, it has been highlighted that press magnifies the importance of Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, which deals with the freedom of expression. And this is especially because the press is serving the governed people and not those who govern, which means that the freedom of expression which has been provided to the citizen of India is further enhanced and magnified by the press, and this is especially because the press questions the state or the government. And any government which tries to curb the freedom of its citizen is checked by the presence of press which questions the government of the day. Further, in the present times or the modern times, there is a tendency towards less secrecy. And this is visible by the information which is even available on the social media. Further, you should note that there is an international covenant on civil and political rights, and this was adopted by the General Assembly of United Nations in 1966. And this covenant specially includes the right to freedom of expression, and it defines the freedom as the freedom to seek, receive and impart the information and ideas of all kinds. So this covenant of United Nations is basically related to the freedom of expression, and embedded in this freedom of expression is the freedom to seek, receive and impart the information and ideas of all kinds. Now this covenant of United Nations was signed by the government of India in the year 1979. However, none of the governments have lived up to the ideals of this covenant, which was signed by the General Assembly of United Nations. So in this regard, it has been highlighted that rather than repealing the Official Secret Acts of 1923, the governments have been using and misusing the provisions of this Official Secret Acts of 1923, and its provisions were made more stringent in the 1967 by widening the scope of various sections of this act. So this means that the governments have been using and misusing the provisions of Official Secret Act of 1923 to curb the freedom of citizens and the press. So now in this regard, let us also learn about the recommendations which are provided by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission of 2006 and the Law Commission's report. So the second ARC had recommended that the Official Secret Acts of 1923 should be repealed. And this Official Secret Act should be substituted by a chapter in the national security, which will contain the provisions relating to the official secrets, and especially those provisions which are related to anti-espionage, which means that all those provisions which are related to the spying and sabotaging of the country can be included in the National Security Act, and the Official Secrets Act 1923 should now be repealed. Further, the recommendations of second ARC were based on the Law Commission's report of 1971. And this Law Commission's report had suggested that an Umbrella Act should be brought, and this Umbrella Act should have laws relating to the national security under one head, which means that various acts which are related to the national security should be brought under one Umbrella Act. So now let us look at the status of implementation of these recommendations. So now, based on the recommendations of Law Commission's report of 1971, in 1980 a National Security Act was enacted. And this was enacted mainly to provide for preventive powers to deal with the threats of maintenance of public order and security of the country. And this National Security Act was also enacted for the maintenance of essential services. Now, as this National Security Act of 1980 had limited scope only, and besides the provision of National Security Act, there were other acts which dealt with national security, like the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967, the Criminal Law Amendment Act, etc. And as there were multiple laws relating to the official security, and also the provisions of the Official Secret Act were not included in the National Security Act, the Official Secret Act was not repealed by any of the governments. So finally concluding, we can say that freedom of press is integral to the democracy, and it is also considered as democracy's fourth pillar. And due to this, it is the duty of the government to strengthen this fourth pillar, and also it becomes the duty of the government to smoothen and simplify the flow of informations, and especially for the sake of transparency and accountability. So the successive governments should seriously think about repealing the Official Secret Act, which stands against the freedom of expression for the press and the citizens of India. So after going through this discussion, you should try and answer this question from your mains examination point of view. And with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, as our country is heading towards the Lok Sabha election, today's newspaper talks about the system of elections which is known as the proportional representation system. And the yesterday's newspaper talked about the first past the post system. So now this will form a part of the General Studies paper 2 of the mains examination. So today let us try to understand the difference between the first past the post system and the proportional representation system. Further, we will try to understand why India has chosen the first past the post system over the proportional representation system for the election to its Lok Sabha. And also we will try to understand where is the proportional representation system used in India. Now, to understand the basics of the first past the post system and the proportional representation system, let us go to the NCERT of class 11th, which is named as the Indian Constitution at Work. And this is the NCERT of Political Science. And in the chapter 3 of this NCERT, the details of the first past the post system and the proportional representation system have been discussed. So this chapter takes the example of the 1984 Lok Sabha election. And in this example, it has been highlighted that in the election of 1984, the largest winning party, which was the Congress, secured the votes that were 48% only. However, it secured 415 seats out of the 543 seats. And this amounts to almost 80% of all the seats. So this shows that although the winning party did not secure more than 50% of the votes, it still secured the 80% seats in the Lok Sabha. So how did this happen? So this happened because the entire country is divided into 543 constituencies, and each constituency elects one representative. And the candidate who secures the highest number of votes in that constituency is declared elected. So it is important to note that whichever candidate secures more votes than all other candidates is declared elected in the first past the post system. And the winning candidate need not secure a majority of votes in his constituency. So for example, if in one election there are 4 candidates fighting from a constituency, and if the first candidate secures 40% of the votes, the second secures 30% of the votes, the third secures 20% of the votes, and the fourth secures 10% of the votes, then the person who secures 40% of the votes is declared as the winner. So here it is important to note that the winner has not secured the majority of votes in that constituency, which means that the winner has not secured 50% of the votes or more than 50% of the votes in that constituency. So this method is called as the first past the post system, which means that in the electoral race, the candidate who is ahead of others, who crosses the winning post first of all, is the winner. Further, there is another name that is given to this first past the post system, and this term is important and should be kept in mind. So the first past the post system, or the FPTP, is also known as the plurality system. And this is the method of election which has been prescribed by the constitution for the election to the Lok Sabha. So now in this first past the post system, you should note that the votes polled by the citizens to the losing candidates do not have any representation in the parliament. So this means that all the votes which have not been polled for the winning candidates do not have any representation, and they are considered to be going as waste votes. In contrast to this first past the post system, in the proportional representation system, the citizens vote for the party instead of the candidates. And for example, in Israel, after the elections, once the votes are counted, each party is allotted the share of seats in the parliament in proportion to the votes that have been polled by those parties. For example, in the proportional representation system, if there are 4 parties fighting the election, and all the members of the country are voting for these parties, and if the party A, B, C and D respectively get 40%, 30%, 20% and the 10% votes, then these parties will have representation in proportion to the votes that have been polled by these parties. However, in the first past the post system, even if the parties are securing votes and if they are not winning the seats, they will not get a representation in the parliament or the Lok Sabha. So in the proportional representation system, a party gets the same proportion of seats as its proportion of votes. So now let us compare the first past the post system with the proportional representation system of election. So in the FPTP, a country is divided into small geographical units which are called as the constituencies. However, in the proportional representation system, the entire country may be a single constituency, or large geographical areas are demarcated as constituencies. Secondly, every constituency elects one representative only. However, in the proportional representation system, more than one representative may be elected from one constituency. Thirdly, you should note that the voters in the first past the post system vote for a candidate. However, in the PR system, the voters vote for the party only. Fourthly, in the first past the post system, a party may get more seats than the votes it has secured in the legislature. However, in the proportional representation system, every party gets seat in the legislature in proportion to the percentage of votes that it gets. Further, in the first past the post system, the candidate who wins the election may not get the majority of the votes. And as we have seen in the example of the first past the post system, a candidate is declared winner if he has more number of votes as compared to any other member of that constituency. However, in the representation system or the proportional representation system, the candidate who wins the election gets the majority of votes. A prominent example of the FPTP system is United Kingdom and India. And on the other hand, Israel and Netherlands have the proportional representation system. Now, although India has used the first past the post system for election to Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly, it uses the proportional representation system for elections to the Rajya Sabha, election of President, election of Vice President, and election to the State Legislative Council. So these are the 4 places where the proportional representation system of election is used in India. So this can be an important aspect for us from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let us understand, why did India adopt the first past the post system for elections to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies? So the first reason for the adoption of the first past the post system was that it is a simple election process and it is easy for the common voters to understand this system. However, the voting under the proportional representation system is complex. So that is why the FPTP system was adopted for its simplicity. Secondly, a clear choice is presented to the voters at the time of elections. And voters have to simply endorse a candidate or a party while voting. So based on this, a voter can give a preference to the candidate or a party. So simply a voter can strike a balance between choosing a party or a candidate. So the first past the post system offers voter a choice not only between the parties but also between specific candidates. So simply for example, while voting, if there are two parties A and B and their candidates A and B are fighting the elections, and if the voters are driven by the ideology of party, they can vote for their party. However, even if the voter is motivated by the ideology of that party and does not like the candidate which is fighting the elections on the behalf of that party, he can vote for either other party or the candidate, and he can vote for the none of the above options as has been provided recently. So this shows that a voter can strike balance between his choice for a party or a candidate. Now the third reason why India adopted the FPTP system over the PR system is that, as in the PR system, voters are often asked to choose a party only. And as such, the representatives are elected on the basis of a party list. And as a result, there is no one representative who represents and is responsible for one locality. However, as opposed to this, in the FPTP system, the voters know who their own representative is and they can hold him accountable. So that is why the accountability is the third reason why India chose the FPTP system over the proportional representation system in its election to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Now the fourth reason why India adopted this FPTP system is that in the PR based election system, a stable government might not be formed. Now, as in the proportional representation system, the votes are polled for parties and the parties get representation in the legislature on the basis of the votes secured by them. This system will not produce a clear majority, and this is because the seats in the legislature would be divided on the basis of share of votes. In contrast to this, the first past the post system generally gives the largest party or a coalition of parties more number of seats as compared to the votes secured by them. So that is why the FPTP system makes it possible for the parliamentary government to function smoothly and effectively by facilitating the formation of a stable government. Further, the first past the post system encourages voters from different social groups to come together to win an election in a locality. And in a diverse country like India, if we had the proportional representation system, it would encourage each community to form its own nationwide party. So these are the 5 reasons why India adopted the first past the post system. So let us summarize these points. So the first reason is the simplicity of the FPTP system. The second is that the FPTP system provides a choice to the voters in terms of voting for either a candidate or voting for a party. The third reason is the accountability, and we know that in the FPTP system, every constituency only elects one person, and as such, the voters can hold that person accountable if he does not fulfill his poll promises. Fourthly, in a PR based system, it would be difficult to form a stable government because the parties get seats in the legislature based on the votes that they have secured. And finally, in a diverse country like India, each community will try to form its own nationwide party, and this would promote a minority or a caste based or group based thinking. So these are simply the 5 reasons why India has adopted the first past the post system over the proportional representation system. So now let's summarize these points as to why the FPTP system was chosen over the proportional representation system. So the first reason was the difficulty for the voters to understand the proportional representation system because it is complicated and due to the low level literacy in country at the time of independence. Secondly, the unsuitability of the proportional representation system to the parliamentary government. This is because the proportional representation system has a tendency to promote multiple political parties and which can lead to instability in the government. Further, there are some demerits associated with the proportional representation system, and these include it is highly expensive. Secondly, it does not give any scope for organizing the by-elections. Thirdly, it eliminates the intimate contact between the voters and the representatives or the candidates which wins the elections from these constituencies. Thirdly, it promotes minority thinking and group interests. And finally, it increases the significance of party system and decreases the importance of a voter. So these are the important aspects of the first past the post system and the proportional representation system. Now after going through today's discussion, let us try these practice questions from our preliminary examination point of view. The answer for these questions will be displayed after 5 seconds. So the first question reads, consider the following pairs. And it has provided the pairs of festival and the tribe or the community which celebrates this festival. The first is the Wangala festival, and the tribe's name is Garo tribe. Now this has been correctly matched. And you should note that the Garo tribe is a tribe of Meghalaya. And three famous tribes of Meghalaya are the Garo, Khasi and the Jaintia. The second pair gives the festival Sekreni, and the tribe's name is Angami tribe. This is also correctly matched. And this Sekreni festival is celebrated in the state of Nagaland. The third pair reads about the Thakurani Jatra, and the community which is given is the Dera community. And this is correct as we have read in today's article. So the correct answer that comes out is D, 1, 2 and 3. The second question reads, with reference to the election system of India, consider the following statements. The first statement reads, India does not have proportional representation system for any of its elections. Now this is an incorrect statement because we know that India has proportional representation system of elections for election of president, vice president, election to the Rajya Sabha and to the state legislative councils. The second statement reads, in the first past the post system, the winning candidate needs to secure the majority of the total votes polled in a constituency. This statement is also incorrect. This is because the winning candidate does not require to secure the majority of the total votes polled. However, he needs to secure the largest number of votes as compared to other candidates. So the correct answer that comes out is D. Neither one nor the second statement is correct. Further, you should try these two questions from your preliminary examination point of view. And the answer for these questions will be displayed after 5 seconds. So the first question reads, consider the following pairs. And it talks about places in news and the country in which these places are located. The first is the Hodeidah, and the country that is given is Yemen. Now this is a correct match, and Hodeidah has also been in news throughout the year because of the war or the crisis that is going on in Yemen. The second is the Baghouz, and it is located in Iraq. This is an incorrect match because as we have read in today's article, Baghouz is located in the country Syria, and this is the last territory which is occupied by the Islamic State. The third is the Deir al-Zor, and it is located in Syria. This is a correct match. So the correct answer that comes out is B, that is 1 and 3 only. The fourth question reads, a frog which was recently discovered in Kerala was named after which of the following tribal communities? And the options given are the Irula, Todas, Badaga and the Kurichia. So as we have read in today's article, the correct answer is D, that is, a frog has been named after the Kurichia tribe of Wayanad in Kerala. With this, we have come to the end of today's discussion. Now let us move on to the question for the day.